Look, I realize you've been bearish on this company for a very long time, and you believe that this company is vastly overvalued. The question I'd ask you, given that we started with around the issue of Elon Musk's compensation, do you believe that Elon Musk is purposely trying to effectively manipulate the price and valuation of the company to capture the compensation arrangement that's been organized here?
Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, we're once again hearing from everybody's favorite intellectual punching bag, Gordon the Class Clown Johnson, sharing some more FUD and disinformation about Tesla. Can't help myself, I have to debunk this. I know most of you guys are just here to laugh at how ridiculous some of the stuff he says is, but there's a few people out there that will have heard what he said and actually believed it, and I just can't let that slide. So let's get into the video. And by the way, since I know there's a lot of crypto lovers watching and people who like free stuff, it's your lucky day. For a limited time, you can get up to $250 in free crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, where you can use cryptocurrency to earn interest, borrow cash, and buy or sell crypto. If you want your free crypto, use the link in the description. It also helps out the channel. And if you'd like up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $250 just for opening an account. And if you fund your account with $100, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $1,600. Unless you don't like free stocks, that is. And if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
I just want to go back to the compensation plan unto itself. And we should also note that the compensation plan, Elon Musk has to continue holding these shares. He can't go sell these shares. So depending on what happens to the valuation, he could get a lot richer or potentially poorer.
Right. So I think what's important here, Andrew, is that, again, the company lost a significant amount of money excluding one-time items. There was an accounting change of $145 million, $518 million in credit sales that they said are going away by the end of this year.
Where do we even start? Now, unless my jet lag is so severe that I'm actually misremembering the past, which, let's say, probably about a 0.69% chance, it's possible, but very unlikely, Tesla didn't say that these regulatory credits are going away at the end of the year. Now, maybe from one particular agreement they'll be ending at the end of the year. I think that's what Gordon's trying to sort of FUD his way around. Oh yeah, this particular agreement, say for example, with Fiat Chrysler, now the Stellantis group, that's going away at the end of the year, suggesting that there's no more regulatory credits. Now, I just want to be clear. At some point in the future, Tesla will no longer be selling these zero-emission vehicle credits. That will stop at some point. But I think it's going to be a number of years. Why? Because automakers simply do not have the production capacity to meet the requirements. They're going to have to buy these credits from somewhere. And Tesla is one of the only companies on planet Earth that only produces electric vehicles and therefore has a huge surplus of credits to sell. As I've mentioned in the past, these regulatory credits are effectively a waste product of Tesla's process. It's garbage to them. It has no utility, but other automakers desperately need them to avoid massive, potentially multi-billion-dollar fines. So yes, maybe one particular agreement ends this year, but there's more agreements. We've heard recently the Volkswagen buying credits from Tesla, my estimation there, probably around $100 million or so. There's likely to be many more of these deals in the future. So Gordon is attempting to suggest that the regulatory credits are just going away at the end of the year. They're not. Yes, they will over the long term. But at this point in time, you can view them as recurring, but over time they will disappear. Or you can think of them as one-off, but it's going to be one-off this quarter, one-off this quarter, one-off this quarter, and another one-off, and another one-off, and another one-off. This is not recurring, this is not sustainable super long term. But over the next few years, unquestionably, Tesla will continue to receive billions of dollars annually based on regulatory credit sales. It's just inevitable. There's no production capacity for these companies to avoid the fines otherwise. It's just, there's no way around this. This is just going to happen.
$101 million in one-time Bitcoin trading revenue. You take those away and they lost $227 million selling cars. So he's being compensated based on that bottom line number that's being supported by something that's completely non-core to his business. So I think that's number one.
If it were anyone other than Gordon Dingbat Johnson making these points, I would say the lack of logic was astonishing. Of course, in this case, to be expected. If you haven't already seen my video about Elon Musk's gigantic package, I'll put a card in the corner. I highly recommend you guys check it out. Long story short, there's a bunch of different milestones to hit, and as Elon gets closer to reaching those milestones, behind the scenes, Tesla incurs an expense by allocating stock to compensate Elon in the future. Now I have to say, this is possibly the dumbest argument I've ever heard Gordon make, and I mean that is really saying something, but let's pick apart the so-called logic here. Gordon's argument here is that you can't count certain sources of income if they're not recurring, if it's not part of their core automotive business. You shouldn't be able to do that. Therefore, you have to back out those sources of income, regulatory credits, sale of Bitcoin, etc. Right? Now, let's just assume that this is a reasonable statement. If that's the case, then it should follow that if there's any one-time expenses that won't be recurring, you should add those back in, so you're looking at things from a level playing field, right? Makes sense. Here's the problem. So what do we have here in Tesla's Q1 2020 results? Page 3. They had a one-time expense, a stock-based compensation expense, a one-time expense of over $600 million. If we add that back in, Gordon said Tesla lost $200 million selling automotive. If you add this $600 million back in, they're positive by $400 million. Now again, I'm just trying to exercise logic here. If you argue the point, you've got to back up those sources of income, then surely you have to add back in this one-time expense again. There's certain tranches that Elon needs to meet in terms of his compensation package. Every time he's getting closer, they put some money aside. Guess what? They've almost finished putting money aside. So these one-time expenses are also going to disappear as well. Again, just trying to use logic here, okay? This argument is one of the dumbest things Gordon has ever said. Yeah, back out the one-time income, but don't back out the one-time expenses.
That's number two, Andrew. You got to think about this, right? Every time there's bad news on Tesla, you see tens of millions of call options purchased that expire literally within days and many times hours. That is not fundamental. Fundamental investors aren't buying call options that expire in hours. That is something that we think the SEC should potentially look into.
This is such an underhanded and filthy tactic from Gordon here. It's kind of like making an accusation without actually making an accusation, just by association. You know, oh, something's happening, so we think the SEC should look into this. The implication there's probably something suspicious going on, but it's not a direct accusation. Well, Gordon, I would like to make a counter argument. I actually legitimately think that the SEC should look into your so-called research firm and who's funding it and who's putting food on your table. Just quietly saying. And I actually mean that. I think if the SEC started sniffing around, GLJ research would vanish rather quickly. Then, where would we get our entertainment from?
And the last thing, their German auto plant, right? As recently as this past Friday, Tesla's IR was telling people that plant was on pace to start producing cars in the fourth quarter of this year. So over the weekend, they delayed that plant by 6 months.
Now, maybe some of you guys and girls actually heard the same FUD over the weekend. It is true that there were reports that the Berlin factory had been delayed by 6+ months, except here's the problem. Those reports were, as Gordon might say, factually incorrect, as in horseshit, as in literally not true. So we can ignore everything Gordon has to say about this so-called delay. There isn't one, but this gives you guys some great insight into how easily FUD can spread. 1 or 2 articles and suddenly people just believe this without doing any homework whatsoever. And of course, Tesla don't care if you think their factory is delayed. Great, think their factory is delayed. They're not even going to bother responding. They don't have the PR team. They don't give a fuck.
So you're talking about 150,000 cars of capacity that the street has in their model for next year that you now have to literally cut in half. That is a material event that the company hasn't even put out an 8K on. And when you think about that, right, the German market, I'm sorry, go ahead, Andrew, sorry.
Well, I was just going to ask you, given what you're saying, and I realize you've been bearish on this company for a very long time, and you believe that this company is vastly overvalued. The question I'd ask you, given that we started with around the issue of Elon Musk's compensation, do you believe that Elon Musk is purposely trying to effectively manipulate the price and valuation of the company to capture the compensation arrangement that's been organized here?
I can't say I know the answer to that, Andrew.
Well, what do you know? Even the king of Tesla FUD draws the line somewhere. And I've got to say, credit where it's due, Gordon Johnson, that was a smart response. Had you made that accusation, I do not think things would have ended well. You do not want to be drawing too much attention to your supposed research firm now, do you? So better not to make those kind of major accusations. Well played, sir.
But what I will say is the German media has reported over a week ago, they reported that Tesla had violated environmental laws in Germany that was going to delay the construction of their German plant. And they also reported that Tesla has basically worked people too many hours and paid them below minimum wage, which is in violation of labor laws in Germany. And yet, as recently as Friday of last week, Tesla's IR was telling people that the German plant was on pace to produce cars at the end of this year. That's a material push out of their production in Germany, which we believe, given this company is trading at 2,466 times earnings, where the industry trades at 12 times, if that news were to come out, it's going to be negative for the stock.
Did Gordon just give himself up there? If the news were to come out, not when the news comes out, if. Big if. That's kind of telling me, you know what, deep down, Gordon doesn't actually believe this is true or that it's going to happen. He's just suggesting that if this were to happen, it would be negative for the stock, which probably would, let's be honest. But again, I don't think Gordon believes this is true, and I think he's just given himself up there by saying if, not when. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. I'm not.
And keep in mind, he said they're going to have the Model Y is going to be the top-selling car in 2022. We believe there's no way that's going to happen now that the German plant has been put out. That German plant was 100% Model Y initially. Yes.
Final question, though, for you. It's a trading question this week in particular. Elon Musk, as you know, is going to be the guest host of SNL, I should say, on NBC on Saturday night. There is a view that going into that, or potentially even coming out of it, that could be a big boon for Tesla's stock. Might even be a big boon for Dogecoin. We'll see.
I have to say, if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet that Dogecoin is going to do something after Elon's SNL appearance. I have a funny feeling we'll see a sketch involving Dogecoin from the Doge father. Let me know in the comments below, actually. What do you guys think is the most likely thing that will happen to the price of both Dogecoin and Tesla stock as a result of Elon's SNL appearance?
But in a week or around this event, if you will, how do you think investors should trade this, even if you believe that the valuation is overvalued, if you will?
Right. So the way we would trade it this week, Andrew, is we think that the street is going to have to significantly cut their numbers next year, given this German plant has been delayed 6 months. That's 150,000 cars of capacity is down 75,000.
Okay.
So we would actually be selling the stock ahead of the street adjustments lower.
So Gordon says that he expects analysts will have to reduce their estimates for Tesla's 2022 deliveries. Yeah, not happening, Gordon. Mark my words, everyone watching. Clip this, it will happen. Month after month, quarter after quarter, analysts will increase their estimates for Tesla's 2022 vehicle deliveries. The consensus estimates will continue to climb over the next 12 months. Mark my words. I guess the best way to sum this one up is literally everything Gordon said was either illogical, moronic, or just plain untrue. What a surprise. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you'd like up to $250 in free crypto bonuses with BlockFi, use the link in the description. You can also get 2 free stocks with WeBull and a free stock with Stake, also linked in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.